In the ancient lands of India, where the Ganges flows like a silver thread through the veins of civilization, lies a story that defies reason, logic, and even history itself. The year is unknowable, the epoch obscured in the folds of time. Yet from the dust of forgotten empires and the ruins of once great cities comes a question whispered through the ages. Did a nuclear war take place thousands of years ago, before mankind ever split the atom? At the heart of this mystery lies a haunting passage from one of India's oldest sacred texts, the Mahabharata, a passage that speaks not of swords or arrows, but of blinding explosions, searing heat, and death from above. A single projectile charged with all the power of the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame as bright as 10,000 suns rose in all its splendor. Could this be merely poetic metaphor? Or is it something more, something terrifyingly real? As we unravel this mystery, we journey through charred ruins, ancient manuscripts, and radioactive soil samples that seem to speak of destruction on a scale only the modern world should comprehend. The deserts of Rajasthan, the ruined city of Mohenjo-daro, the forbidden tunnels beneath the earth, all hold fragments of a puzzle that might rewrite human history as we know it. This is not simply a story. It is an invitation to look beyond the veil of accepted truth and ask the unthinkable. Did ancient India witness the end of the world long before the beginning of ours? The Mahabharata, one of the longest and most profound epic poems in human history, holds secrets far deeper than heroic battles and divine love stories. Composed more than 2,000 years ago, yet rooted in oral traditions stretching back perhaps 5,000 years or more, it describes a world teetering between myth and memory. A world filled with celestial chariots, gods wielding weapons of untold power, and destruction so absolute it seems eerily familiar to our modern fears. One particular passage has drawn the attention of researchers, both mainstream and fringe. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death, which reduced to ashes the entire race of the Vrishnis and the Andakas. Elsewhere, it speaks of, birds became white, the animals were burned, the water boiled, the trees went up in flames. What are we reading? Poetry, symbolism, or a primitive eyewitness account of something far beyond the capabilities of the ancients? Why does the Mahabharata describe radiation poisoning, shock waves, and fallout-like effects thousands of years before modern science discovered them? Sanskrit scholars, scientists, and even military analysts have tried to make sense of these verses. Some dismiss them as colorful metaphors. Others, however, see in them something far more literal, a narrative of technological catastrophe preserved in the only way the ancients knew how, in legend. The question deepens: could the gods of ancient India have been something else entirely, beings not divine, but extraterrestrial? And were their celestial weapons not myths, but machines? We must now leave the realm of poetry and descend into the ruins, to the ashes of real cities and the bones of ancient peoples turned to glass. Let us leave the poetry and turn to the dust of the earth. Beneath the sands and forgotten fields of the Indian subcontinent lie ruins. Some whisper their secrets, others scream them. Among the most unsettling is the ancient city of Mohenjo-daro, nestled in modern-day Pakistan. A cradle of the Indus Valley civilization, this city was once a beacon of urban planning, with paved streets, sewage systems, and multi-story buildings, an astonishing feat for its time, around 2600 BCE. But what happened to it? In the 1920s, British archaeologists uncovered not just streets and homes, but charred skeletons lying hand in hand in the streets. Entire families, frozen in time, as though struck down in a single sudden moment. No signs of war, no invading army, just silence and ash. More curious still, the presence of radiation levels far above normal background in certain excavation sites. Skeletal remains showed traces of radioactivity, some even comparable to Hiroshima, according to fringe researchers. And then there's the sand, glassified sand. At various points in the region, including the Thar Desert, researchers have uncovered patches of fused silica, sand that has been melted into glass by heat exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not caused by any natural phenomenon currently known in the region, not lightning, not volcanoes, but it is consistent with a nuclear blast. And why, in other ancient cities such as Harappa and Kalibangan, are entire walls and buildings blackened as if flash burned, while pottery melts into slag? Conventional archaeology offers no clear answer. Yet when you place these findings side by side with the accounts from the Mahabharata, the picture becomes clearer. Not metaphor, not myth, memory, a memory of fire from the sky. But if this was truly the aftermath of a weapon, who wielded it? And against whom? Before we ask that question, we must look further afield, beyond India, to patterns across the globe that may suggest an even stranger truth. If the earth remembers one cataclysm, might it recall others? If ancient India holds the memory of divine fire, might other lands echo the same thunder? Look beyond the borders of the subcontinent and patterns begin to emerge. Strange, haunting patterns. In the heart of the Middle East, in the ancient city of Sodom, archaeologists unearthed evidence of sudden destruction. Layers of burnt stone, melted roofs, and shattered pottery. Some believe the site, Tal el-Hammam, was destroyed by an airburst event, like Tunguska in Siberia. But what caused it? A meteor, or something more intentional? Cross the oceans to Scotland, where the Brochs, stone towers from prehistoric times, show signs of vitrification. Their outer walls fused by extreme heat, as if struck by lightning, or something even more terrible. In Peru, near the Nazca lines, stones are scorched in patterns that defy explanation. In Turkey's ancient city of Çatalhöyük, layers of ash mark abrupt ends to prosperous periods. Why? In the Sahara, tales of the Eye of the Sahara, the Rishat structure, speak of ancient cities lost in fire. Some speculate it is the Atlantis Plato described, destroyed in a single night of fire and water. Again, a pattern of sudden devastation. Could it be coincidence? Could primitive societies across the world have merely suffered natural disasters, all resembling one another in heat, ash, and sudden ruin? Or were these acts of gods actually the wars of gods? Conflicts using weapons far beyond comprehension, mistaken by early humans as divine punishment? Consider the ancient astronaut theory, that humanity, in its infancy, was visited by beings from beyond, advanced travelers who once walked among us. Might these beings have warred among themselves? Might Earth have been their battlefield? Might we, even now, be uncovering the ashes of a war that was never meant to be remembered? Why is it that evidence of such magnitude lies buried in silence? Why do textbooks omit these tales? Why do scholars mock what ancient voices screamed into stone? Could it be that the truth is inconvenient? Modern science, bound by rigid skepticism, dismisses the Mahabharata as mere myth. The descriptions of divine weapons are seen as poetic exaggerations. But what if myth is simply memory encoded in metaphor? What if the ancients did not lack knowledge, but language, grasping at the tools of metaphor to describe what they could not comprehend? The explosion of a nuclear device to an unknowing eye would be indistinguishable from the weapon of the gods. And yet, even when presented with evidence, radiation in Rajasthan, fused sand in deserts, ash-covered skeletons, mainstream academia remains silent. Why? Are we afraid of what we might find? Governments fund archaeology, institutions define history, and some stories are discouraged, perhaps because they challenge the official timeline, perhaps because they force us to ask, who were we really, and who or what was with us? From the Vatican's secret archives to classified digs in the deserts of Asia, there are whispers, just whispers, of discoveries that never reached the public. Scrolls locked away, tablets translated but never published, bones reburied, ruins erased. If a war once raged among ancient gods or aliens on Earth, what else might be buried? Not just in sand, but in our collective memory? Has humanity been manipulated into forgetting? Or worse, have we chosen to forget? And if the past was once scorched in fire, what does that say about our future? In the dust of forgotten temples, in the ashes of ancient cities, and in the silence of the stars above, a question remains, echoing through eternity. Did a civilization rise to heights we dare not imagine, only to fall in fire and silence? The Mahabharata ends not with triumph but with sorrow. Kingdoms lie in ruins, heroes fade into exile, and the gods leave, or perhaps retreat. What remains is not certainty, but possibility, a shimmering mirage on the edge of history and myth. Some say it's all fantasy, the dreams of old storytellers. But then, why do the stories across the world, Sumer, Maya, Norse, Indian, all echo the same tale? A golden age, an epic war, and a fiery fall. Were the gods of old, in truth, ancient visitors from the stars? Did their conflicts mark the first scars upon the earth? If even a fraction of this is true, if ancient India once bore witness to a war not of mortals, but of titans, then we are the children of amnesia. Children left in the dark, staring up at the stars, not knowing we've been there before. Maybe the Dropa stones, the Vaimanika Shastra, the tales of flying Vimanas. Maybe they're not disconnected myths, but shattered fragments of a story too vast to comprehend. We stand at the edge of a mirror, looking into the past and seeing ourselves. Will we ignore the warnings buried in myth? Or will we finally ask, what did the ancients know that we have forgotten? The ruins are not just ruins. The texts are not just stories. And the past is not just past. It is a shadow that reaches into the present and perhaps shapes the fate of tomorrow.